And at Princeton Cable TV. Today we have a special guest. Correct me if I enunciate your name incorrectly.
Sure.
Okay. Todd
Barretta.
Barretta.
Yes,
oh,
ma'am.
okay. I got it. Barretta. That was a movie, Barretta.
It was. It was.
So I had to try to associate so I can remember. Okay, welcome, Mr. Barretta. Should I call you Todd or Barretta or Mr.? Which one you like?
Please call me Todd.
Okay.
Naomi, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm just so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
I've been doing a lot of interesting reading and research. This guest today, he's a former New Jersey Transit Chief Compliance.
Their first Chief Compliance Officer.
The first, yes. Because they didn't have that position.
Never had one before. So I guess they created the position. They decided that they were going to create it in testimony to the legislature following that Hoboken train crash. And so that came, the decision to go in that direction came out of that tragedy.
Oh, so that's how they created that from there.
With a whole lot of fanfare and trumpeted in, but unfortunately it didn't turn out to be exactly what they had suggested it would.
Nah, I mean, from my understanding, I did, as you see on the screen, some of the screenshot that I have been. You've been very busy, I'm gonna call you a young man, I know. Dealing with this, shall I say, dysfunctional agency.
Oh, I think that's an understatement by far. This was the absolute worst employer that I have ever worked for in my life. It's mind-boggling that they're relied upon to get 1 million people to work every day and back home safely, because I frankly don't know how they're continuing to do it. I mean, certainly they're not doing it problem-free or trouble-free. You could still see the news headlines almost at least once a week. There's some kind of major crisis going on. I think that it's really just a ticking time bomb. There's going to be another major disaster very soon.
Now, can you elaborate to me on your position, your role?
Sure. So I was an executive level position. I reported directly to the executive director. I was one of maybe about eight people out of 11,000 employees there that reported directly to the executive director. So it was a fairly top rung of the bell. I was responsible for all of the implementation and compliance with regulations, statutes, and contracts.
Okay.
Across all divisions.
Okay. Now, I know you said that they developed your position after the Hoboken. As my research, and I've been doing a lot of reading and research online, the train is not the only issue too with the high increase in death.
Oh, no.
It's also
buses.
Yes.
And with that, please allow me to just take a second to apologize for the tragedy that affected you in your life. I've done some research too.
That's good.
Very, very sorry that happened. Unfortunately, I can say that the system safety is no better since then. In fact, it's actually probably a bit worse.
Because I know when they let you go, may I say fire or let you go?
Sure.
It was under the Chris Christie administration, right?
It was.
Well, we know about that one. Because actually that's when it happened to my son.
Okay.
Under his administration. For my research again, I had read it started back in 2008 on the teller of the other governor, Corzine. Right. That's when it was starting, as I should say, getting worse. But it was not that bad until under the Chris Christie administration. There was so much death, increase in death with trains. It just pained me to say the BUS because, again, what I have been going through and still going through.
What happened under the Christie administration actually is an awful lot, a tremendous amount of budget cutbacks. And they had a whole bunch of positions that were never filled, many of those safety sensitive A lot of voids and gaps in the safety department. And then combined with that, not only did they leave positions and safety critical positions unfilled, they did that purposefully. And what they did in order to fulfill some of those budget shortfalls, they kept withdrawing and shifting money from the capital budget into the operating budget and that's why the infrastructure essentially just crumbled. Then along at the same time as that, there was a mass exodus in the Christie years of rank and file employees that had actually been there for decades with a lot of knowledge, and they left. No replacements were ever rehired. There was never any transfer of knowledge. And then on top of it, all of the executives and the most senior level management positions all were completely replaced. Although very, very high paying, they were completely replaced with essentially political cronies. And that's why I hate to say it, but to this day, that's actually still the case. We just went from one governor's set of cronies to the next.
Yes. Yes.
So they're getting paid very well, and they just keep hiring more and more and more people for political patronage positions at $200,000+ a year, and the safety sensitive positions go unfilled. And these people that are earning this $200,000 a year have no experience whatsoever in mass transit. A lot of them are lawyers, are spokespeople, are public relations people, and they get these huge job titles and salaries.
Not intervene. I have read that the Governor Murphy and New Jersey Transit, they outsourcing now attorneys.
Yep.
Why?
And he's just hired a chief counsel, which
Nothing like
kind of boggles my mind, because there was some talk about this, and I had actually I didn't get along very well with who was essentially the chief counsel at the time, although she was technically definitely not, and she took my job, by the way. She was Governor Christie appointee. She was from the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
And now the way that the structure is and the way the statute still is, that general counsel that he just appointed for $215,000 a year, completely illegal and completely inappropriate, because the statute that enables the Attorney General says that the Attorney General acts as the sole chief legal advisor for the New Jersey agencies, including New Jersey Transit. Right. So New Jersey, the law division of the Attorney General's office is the only one qualified or capable to bring a suit and or defend New Jersey Transit in its name. So I'm not exactly sure what this new $200,000 position is going to do, other than I'm assuming he's probably trying to get a little bit more buffer in there to try to thwart, because there's an uptick in the number of lawsuits.
Yeah, that's exactly what that money is paying for. And your guys' taxes are paying for it. Mine, his, yours are paying taxes for all these lawsuits, may I should say. And not only that, the increasing of fares.
Absolutely.
There's like astronomical amount of lawsuit is being divvied out to all these victims who has been killed. And I don't know what they're doing with their again, it's hard for me to say the bus, because I have been through hell and back dealing with New Jersey Transit and their cover up in corruption, and it just baffled me that all these lives was continue on still being taken on the Phil Murphy.
That's right.
Administration.
Exactly.
So you would think, which is Chris Christie, who's a Republican, you would think, okay, now you got a Democrat. We're trying to actually straighten things out and have some type of compassion for the lives taken. I read on their mission statement that safety is their priority. Really? As you can see, these the articles, all the lives taken, and these all the victims' pictures here are gone. And
that's not even up to date, unfortunately.
No, it's not up to date. There's more. Yeah, I gotta get an up to date one. But and the thing is, no press release talking about these lives. All these lives are being swept under the rug as if these lives are no value, of none whatsoever. And it's disheartening. What's your intake?
I will tell you, it was the first week that I was there. I started on a Monday. It was like on a Thursday. And so the executives and a lot of the senior level would get automatic emergency updates whenever there was, it's a text message service. I think it's run by New Jersey Transit Police's emergency management. And there was a time I was like so quite taken back because there was a train strike. And they said that they had a fatality, so that they were going to be, I think it was on the Morrison Essex line. They were suspending service in both directions. And I was just like, completely like, oh my God. And so I ended up a few minutes later being in the elevator with another Christie appointee, the deputy executive director at the time, Amy Herbold. And I'm like, so I said to her, oh, there was a train strike. They killed someone this morning? Mm-hmm. Nonchalantly tells me, it happens once every week or two. You'll get numb to it.
Oh, wow. And these are human lives are being taken and family are grieving like crazy. Now, another thing I noticed, they hire community coach. Oh, I guess now coaches, because I know at one point community coach was owned by Scottish family. Mm-hmm. Now they sold it to some kind of firm or something.
Right.
I mean, it's no improvement because lives will still be taken because they, if I'm not mistaken, they are running some of New Jersey Transit routes.
Absolutely. So now the way that works, New Jersey Transit receives the grant money. They're the grantee from the Federal Transit Administration. They are absolutely 100% responsible for the training and the behavior of their subcontractors that like Coach USA that they put to take their routes. There is almost no oversight whatsoever. They miss the mark every single point. It's almost like a free-for-all. And you could see, even on the other side of it, the finances. There was fairly recently, there's a big lawsuit about how Academy Bus was
I read that
bilking them out of millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they act like they don't even know.
What I read from that, the Attorney General was suing the Academy buses because they was, of course, taking money, stealing money, embezzling money, pick a name.
They were inaccurately reported trips. So now here's a little side bit, and I'll make this revelation here for the first time. I'm not so certain.
Exclusive.
Okay. I'm not so certain how that lawsuit's going to pan out for New Jersey and in terms of recovering any money from Academy Bus, because although it's styled as a whistleblower lawsuit, and it says that, oh my God, the Attorney General at the time was so shocked that this was going on. There was no new information that was revealed, and in order to have a whistleblower lawsuit, a quitan action, the whistleblower needs to bring some new information. It hasn't really come out much, although I think one reporter touched on it a little bit, but this wasn't new information. New Jersey Transit's internal audit department had been auditing Academy Bus several times and had found inconsistencies more than a decade ago, and they completely ignored all of them.
Yeah, like they ignore all these lives, they ignore all of this, the safety. And I know with Coach USA, they mission statement, drive to us our best. What? Ending people's lives, killing innocent people is driving to your best.
Oh, yeah.
It's sickening. And the training, are they getting properly trained?
I don't think so. So I can't speak directly to that, but if you want to look at training in general, I will tell you, back on the rail side, they keep, especially this new administration, keeps harping on all of the new engineers that they've hired, and Murphy kept saying how understaffed it was under Christie. We're hiring new engineers. I will tell you, the new engineers are very, very dangerous. They are pushing the new class of engineers to graduate so quickly so that they have the availability of engineers that they really relax the standards for becoming an engineer. To the point that some engineers that still work there tell me that they're scared about having to work around these other new engineers, whereas previously they would have definitely been disqualified or sent back for more training for failing certain parts of an exam. They're being passed right through. There was last year a woman that had become an engineer. She had failed like 3 of the tests. They pushed her through anyways, and on her first day, she pushed the train through an unprotected grade crossing. Now, thank God there was no car there, but there very well could have been. It was an unprotected grade crossing that she went right through without the horn blow or anything.
Now, I know what I have read. They call you a whistleblower.
Yeah. So I have mixed feelings on that.
I mean, when you're not doing the right thing, of course, they will antagonize your personality and your character as a true standard person who has a compassionate heart for human lives and the safety of their surroundings, humans, and whatever. So, under Christian administration, I'm trying to just use my words here carefully, that allegedly they claim they fire you because of using the car with personal usage of their company car. As we know, by my experience, they get these attorneys, they fabricate.
Oh, sure.
That's what they do. Like they don't want to correct the problem. They want to bully people, fabricate. I also read online that one, I guess it was a journalist had wrote articles about all these demise, and New Jersey Transit lawyer had trolled the internet and told them to take the article down.
Oh, yes. All right. So let me tell you, they have now shifted. So perfect definition of a pretext for trying to fire someone. They have now shifted the reason 3 separate times. I will remind everyone that actually in my original letter of termination from August, they didn't mention any of that. I have a 3-sentence letter that said that there was a laptop subpoena, my laptop from the company, and my work product was subpoenaed by the New Jersey legislature for their upcoming hearing, and that they needed the laptop. I had it with me. They needed the laptop back. I did return the laptop, and but on a Friday afternoon, and yet on a Tuesday at the end of the workday is when I received an email letter saying that you were supposed to have returned the laptop. You did not return your laptop. Your position is now terminated. Period. Nothing else.
First, they demoted.
So they lost the laptop that I returned back to them.
What I read, first they demoted you, and then they fired you.
And then they fired me.
And put all these trumped up charges. I believe it, because that's what happened with my son's case. You know,
they have teams of people just trying to kill the messenger.
Exactly.
So then, actually, it was at the legislative hearing. New Jersey Transit got a real surprise because in front of the legislative committee, I produced the returned receipt for the laptop, and I said, well, I have no idea why I'm being fired now. They said that it was for this laptop. Here's the laptop I did return it. It's not my fault if they lost it for 2 days. And that is when they turned to, oh, well, it wasn't really the laptop, despite the fact that that's the only reason that they stated in the letter.
Because you had the evidence.
So then they said he's misused his car. And I was like, are you kidding me? I put far less. I put like 400 miles on that car in like 2 months, and like 360 of them were for driving around New Jersey Transit places. Like, I was very, very good with my car. They tried to go on that for months and months and months. And then, if you recall, in the second part of the hearing, that was the only thing that my boss at the time had testified against. He then left out the computer and said, well, the real reason was his car. And they went on that for a while. I had said from the beginning, I use my car a whole lot less than anyone, and in the exact same manner, and a whole lot less than anyone else at my level, and especially a whole lot of people that were actually below my level. And then it wasn't until this past March. Okay. So that was like their main argument in all of their court filings, that their firing was completely justified. I wasted resources driving my car, like a complete farce, because you're talking about like $9 or $10 in mileage. They owed me more than that from tolls that I used on my own car before they gave me the car. That's actually why they gave me the car, is because I had all these mileage reimbursement reports for using my own car around there. And then there was a big. So apparently there had been an audit that was done right after I had left, and the audit looked at all of the executives' uses of their car, and mine was on the bottom. It turned out all of my bosses were like thousands and thousands of miles. People were driving out of state with the car. People had driven their children to go look at schools in Virginia with the car.
What, company car?
With the company car. People had been taking it on commuting trips of like over 150 miles a day. I mean, they were just putting in thousands of miles. There was an incident where two high-ranking executives were both found with their cars at a motel off the Garden State Parkway together. I mean, just like really trashy, unbelievable,
Wow.
ridiculous stuff. And then they were trying to say, I issued my car, like absurd. So when that audit came out, now they've now shifted a third time. And now they're saying, oh, well, the car. So now they no longer mention a laptop at all. Now they say the car is just a minor thing. It was actually that I was unqualified for the position. Really? In 6 months of working there, I had nothing but congratulations from my bosses. They kept handing me more and more responsibility until I testified against them.
Of course, once you actually expose them, and I'm quite sure the rabbit hole goes real deep. Now you the person, you the victim.
That's right.
You didn't go by their rules, the lie, corrupt, cover, and steal.
That's
so
right.
Now you're the problem.
That's right. And they had to silence me in some way. So they did it by suing me and trying to make me be the bad guy.
Now, this happened on the administration again under Chris Christie. As we know, he's been in trouble so many times with the gate, the bridge, and everything else.
Yes.
Now, why Phil Murphy is not coming to your bat?
Because
this is a new administration.
Exactly. So I'm like really quite surprised that I still haven't heard from him. I was actually a really big supporter. You're not, huh?
No.
I went to like 3 or 4 of his, I went to 3 or 4 of his inaugural events, shook hands. He knew who I was. And then like I was really excited because he came right in, immediately announcing an audit and all these things. And I was like, oh, we're definitely on the same page. The audit comes out basically almost verbatim on several issues that I had sent to the legislature 7 months ago are all now in writing in the audit, like the exact same issues. Mm-hmm. It's a real shame. Instead, he chose to continue to throw resources at fighting me.
I read even the Attorney General.
Gruber.
Like we got I mean, yeah, him. I read that they pretty much, as I say, pick up the torch with Chris Christie or the baton, and carry on to still sit here to sabotage you. I read that Gordon Johnson, one of the political persons, saying this is just a waste of money to sit here trying to put up trumped up charges on you when they have nothing.
They had nothing. They keep inventing things instead of just backing down, which I think would have been the best thing. And certainly for me, it would have been the best thing, and it's certainly for New Jersey and for his administration. Like I really knew that I had my finger on the pulse there. I actually, to some extent, still really do, even though I'm so far removed. I would have really liked to have. We could have avoided a whole lot of attorney's fees, a whole lot of aggravation. My family suffered very badly in the last 4 years.
You lost you was in foreclosure.
Oh yeah. I lost my car, my house, girlfriend, fiance, house, all my kids' toys, and instead, we could have settled it back then for a fraction of what it's worth now, and I could have been back there working and helping him. Instead, what did he do? Not only did they just pass the baton, they actually retained more lawyers when they realized they were losing and it wasn't going well for them. They have like 4 lawyers now, private, plus the whole Attorney General's office.
4 lawyers against only one little you. That's pathetic.
Ridiculous, right? I mean, they are. I think they're. I know that I'm almost into the hundreds of thousands in legal expenses, so they're well beyond that. And this is money that could have went into fixing the problems that I told them about. Instead, they're spending money to try to make it look like the problems I told them weren't real, somehow to attack my credibility. The problems are all there. They're still there. So how can you possibly say there was something wrong with me? They've self-proved everything that I said about them.
I read something else. This is like a recent article. It's a joke. But about New Jersey Transit, they had an article about Forbes in Forbes about
I'm sorry about what?
Forbes, that they're supposed to be the good employee.
Oh, Forbes.
Sorry, I stand corrected.
No, sure.
In Forbes,
Right.
Praising New Jersey Transit employee.
So here's what I said on Twitter about that. This is my own opinion. I have no facts to back it up. But there has to be. I tend to think that we will soon see a whole lot of free Forbes ads covering all the New Jersey Transit buses, because there's no other explanation for that. No one in their right mind whatsoever could deem New Jersey Transit one of the best employers to work for. I mean,
yeah, because I see discrimination law. I know one
they're
attorney,
getting sued every week by someone that works there. How can that be one of the best places?
I don't know her name. One of the attorneys, she just won a case, and New Jersey Transit attorney was trying to gag her, to gag another attorney, and we live in New Jersey, the freedom of speech.
Oh yeah.
Was it freedom of state of speak?
Her name is Nancy Erica Smith.
Right, her.
Great lady, good lawyer.
Yes, and they trying to gag her.
Oh yeah.
And I was reading an article. She like, that's against. First of all, that's against not only the constitutional right, but that's against trying to gag the victim and the attorney. Oh yeah, because the state we live in.
So they tried to do that to me too.
They trying to do that to me too as well. Bully yourself, and when you know your rights, special no, I have a right to exercise. The freedom of speech, my Constitution. So how you going to try to gag me? And so if they threaten you, they gag you. Been there, done that, still going through it.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying not to cry, because from my experience, what I gone through, these drivers are not qualified to operate a big vehicle.
That's right.
They have health issues. And when they're going to court, they redact all, the driver redacted all his health, the main things, his hearing. Why would you redact that? Don't you need your hearing and your vision to operate the vehicle? But anyway, any last thing you have to say? Because we 30 minutes just go so fast, especially when you're having fun. Talking about this corrupt, dysfunctional company.
Oh yeah.
Is there any way people can find you? Do we want to tell the audience how can they locate you, find you?
I'm definitely on Twitter at Todd Barretta. It says the New Jersey Transit former chief compliance officer and now whistleblower. I'll use the term they labeled me. But so I am there or on Facebook. But definitely, my Twitter is almost entirely devoted to New Jersey Transit and trying to help them get on track, or at least highlight for the world everything that's still wrong.
Okay. Thank you for coming to Noneillah Talk Show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a great pleasure.
Very nice.
Noneillah. I'm about my money, no dummy, I'm an untrained. But my thought process is different, y'all think the same. Finger you and anyone else you came with. I am mental, my senses are something stainless. Hop out on your homie ride, about